Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new Let's Play series in Hearts of Fire 4 Kaiserreich. They've just released brand new left KMT tree, so we'll be doing that today. So we do start off completely capitulated. We don't have any territory to our name. That's okay, because soon China's going to collapse and we'll be off to the races. But the Minggan insurgency. In the late winter of 1927, the Chinese Nationalist Party, the Kuomintang's National Revolution, was on the brink of collapse following a series of major military defeats and the death of the expedition's leader Chiang Kai-shek. With the destruction of the Kuomintang National Army, General Li Jishen convinced a part of the NRA to continue the revolution by waging a protracted war of resistance against the Zili warlords and their German lackeys. He was joined by Song Qingling and Deng Yanda, and after the failure of their 1932 Shanghai uprising, they decided to flee to the remote mountain villages and forests of southeastern Jiangxi and northwestern Fujian, hoping to one day strike back. Meanwhile, the Central Committee of the Kuomintang, dominated by the party's left wing, fled for Europe, hoping to organize a government exile to perhaps one day liberate China. Here in the remote rural backwater of southern China, Song Qingling's populist-based government has created a unique movement shrouded in secrecy, one that ties the cells and allied towns of the region. Peasants, both men and women, are trained to fight by NRA officers, hoping to inspire the next generation of revolutionaries. Capable of fulfilling the mission of national salvation, they are taught that there shall be no class to change the Kuomintang's free China. They are further aided by vast network of spies and forward party cells and feathered leftists in the Shanghai neutral zone, with rumors of even criminal organization playing a role in arms smuggling supplies. In 1932, Chinese syndicalists, socialists, and members of the Kuomintang staged mass strikes across the southeastern sea of border of China, hoping to cripple the decimated League of Eight provinces. While believed to repress, they are given hope and faith to those in China, and perhaps the Kuomintang may one day return. So we got 3 pages of this. Also, one very interesting thing I've noted here is that they've actually added path guides. We're not going to show the spoilers. We're going to kind of go with the flow, but I'm happy that they put path guides into Kaiserreich, because there are many paths in the game where how to actually get there is not the most clear thing in the world. The faction, the Kuomintang. Making up the dominant faction within the Central Committee, the reorganized Communist Association represents both the coalition of radical and moderate socialists who fled for Europe with Chairman Wang Jinwei. Originally a secret organization with cells in Chinese Europe expedited community, as well as legation cities, the RCA takes its name from the reorganization of party in 1924. The KMT took inspiration from the post-Great War socialist revolutions. As such, they believe the party must be purified and reorganized to create a new revolutionary NRA, made up of the peasants and workers, and that the Kuomintang will indeed be the vanguard of the forthcoming materials class struggle. To do so, the RCA believes that the revolution must be furnished by the above. An educated and patriotic cadre must lead the masses to revolutionary triumph. The second largest faction within the leftist dominated Kuomintang are those that fled with Song Qingling to the Mangguan insurgent zone. Declaring themselves the PAC, the Provisional Action Committee, citing that the greatest solution to Chinese woes would be to administer direct action as soon as possible. The PAC believes that the revolution must instead start from the bottom up, and that exceptional individuals such as General Deng Yanda are to help the masses achieve revolutionary consciousness. However, this puts them at odds with the European returnees. You gotta scroll the way back up. Excluding the 2 major cliques of the leftist-dominated Kuomintang, the left claims to political legitimacy as a true Kuomintang are nonetheless led them to include a number of minor factions and organizations within the shared umbrella of the nationalist revolution. Within Chinese exiles in Europe, a small faction disgruntled Wamba military academy officers found themselves inspired by the growing radical movements of Europe. Those of Sannikov's NRPR and French Hilarion movement and Oswald Mosley's Maximus movement in the Union of Britain. Since popularized among elements of the European far left, totalism has achieved a small but certainly growing following among young Chinese radical military officers, who believe that democracy has no place in a China free of imperialism. Not all members of the Kuomintang chose exile in Europe and China. A noticeable amount of centrists and other like-minded liberals fled for Southeast Asia or the United States, especially Hawaii. And the nominal head of this overseas Chinese committee is Sun Fo, the son of the party's founder. Still, nonetheless, it is reported that the OCC also has supported the NRA officers who were sent to the party commune for political and military training. As part of its United Front policies in exchange for receiving aid and recognition by the Third International, the Kuomintang is also compelled to work with other socialist groups in China who are not affiliated with the KMT. These desperate union parties and organizations are loosely united under the League of Chinese Syndicalists and involve council communists, anarcho-syndicalists, anarchists, and other socialists. The movement is dominant amongst them is the Chinese Syndicalist Party. Okay, fantastic. So as I said at the very, very top of this episode, we actually don't have any territory. We've got no manpower. We've got no factories. We're at negative 18% stability. Overall, I would say it's pretty bad. It's not great, but hey, we can research some stuff, and I'm happy to see that. Got army reform, because of course we need to do all of our standard Chinese faction hubbubaloo. We get our army and navy experience. That sounds fine. Government exile, lobby for support. I don't think there's any reason to actually do this. Because we should become uncapitulated once the war in China actually begins. So we should be fine. The Year of the Rat. Fun little fact. I was born in the Year of the Rat. A new year comes to China long overdue for a change. It's been 4 years since the unsuccessful Shanghai uprising across the eastern seaboard, and almost a decade since the collapse of the northern expedition. But like the Zodiac, the same cycles of poverty and exploitation continue on. And like rats, the Kuomintang insurgents remain underground and hiding, festering in their squalor. But they continue to survive nonetheless. The repeated encirclement campaigns waged by League of 8 provinces and their German advisors have all come to nil despite their material superiority because of the endemic corruption, crafty insurgent leaders, and the sheer tenacity of the guerrillas. Although unable to stop the League from controlling major population centers, they have hampered the League's efforts to control the hinterland. Still, as the new year approaches, the new year begins January 24th in the traditional calendar still used by many commoners, the Minggan insurgency has little else to retreat to. For all the failures of encirclement campaigns, they have largely isolated meaningful rebellion in the Fujian region, far from the centers of power. Social cells often remain divided, and even in the heart of the Minggan, the people's government control is often illusory. Its leaders know full well that there will be no insurgency if not for the sacrifices of the people, who often offer support, great and small, that allow Mingguan to trudge onwards. Next is point of social resistance. Minggan is a hub which spokes extended deep within China, extending them with various networks stretching from sympathetic cities such as Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Jimen. But supply shipments have gone more difficult over the years thanks to improved League patrols and negation crackdowns. As they plan their next operation to smuggle equipment, Minggan turns to... We get total support, liberal support, or some syndicalist support. Flavor events can be turned on and off with the minor pop-ups. What do we want to take with you? Totalism. Also, I do like how you are allowed to, click to toggle minor event notifications, such as each pilot's. Flavor events can be... I do like the flavor events, so I will keep those on. Let's go with urban syndicalist cells. We're not going to go to the wealthy backers. We're going to try to not have to rely on criminal organizations if we can avoid that. The fallout of the Janway Railway purchase. For all the sins of the imperialists and concessionists, sloth is not one of them. Exploiting cheap Chinese labor and a token Chinese representation among the engineers, the OAG has built a large railway extending from Shanghai to Nanjing. The AOG is an extension of the German concession, an arm of corporate conglomerates hoping to exploit Chinese resources. Their move into Jingxi, the heart of the Minggan, paying numerous bribes and having to braving our best efforts to stop them, have also been a source of despair as they brush aside sabotage and corruption alike. But in many ways, perhaps the same determined averance of the capitalist downfall. Betraying our local partners and any promise of a more guaranteed future, scandals broke it out within the AOG, suddenly announcing a decision to consolidate their controlling shares in various Chinese railways into one on behalf of the AOG subsidiaries. This move to entrench German dominance and force Chinese managers to answer the German board has backfired, with widespread anger boiling out across the League. The Jinwei Railway, once the much advertised sign of progress, has now become a symbol of the continued humiliation of the Chinese people. It seems that the Germans have forgotten their history, and not long ago, a similar rail dispute in China set forth the fall of an empire. We either go with totalism and social liberals. We get some more war support, or we just get 20 political power. Let's take the political power for now. We don't really need the war support, at least not right now. The legitimacy of the party is considered abysmal. Countries at war -20. So actually, we should. We'll read this event, and then we'll actually look at our national spirit, so I actually don't know what we start off with. The Brewing Tempest. The Kuomintang, once on the back foot amidst the League's advance, has seen a new life breathed into his lungs. The much vaunted Janway Railway project has awoken decades of pent-up anger among the long-suffering Chinese people. With waves of condemnation coming from concerned intellectuals, socialist factory pamphlets, and national publications of all stripes. It seems that the scandal has struck a deep nerve across the board of Chinese society. Strike resistance has spread like wildfire. In cities both in the League and elsewhere, there has been a widespread protest of boycotts against the AOG. Railroads have been attacked and sabotaged. The League authorities, themselves said to be fuming over the Chinese betrayals, have also been slow to stop them. Various officials and foreign citizens said to be tied to the Shanghai have been attacked by mobs, and some assassinated in anti-concessionist of frenzy. While Kuomintang and other social insurgents can claim credit for some of them, they're not even close to majority. It seems this outpouring of public anger stems from a genuine grassroots popular anger, one that the party is eager to take part of, even if there remains doubts among the leadership if it will amount to much. The party's development of its agents are expected the most influential in the southern parts of the League, where they hold remains strong, if waning. The violence flares, and hope is renewed for the Mingan. Okay. So we either go for syndicalism or social democracy, but get a little bit more resistance to either Gannan or Jinmian. Jian or... So what do we got? We got either Gannan or Jimen. And I don't know where those two provinces actually are. Wait, where are those provinces? Which I don't want you, I want to look at you. Where's Gannan? You're Gannan. Okay, so it's going to be one of these two, I believe. Well, we'll probably want to go for the south because it actually borders our already existing territories. Popularity goes up. If we choose this option, we'll spawn one division in Revolutionary Cavalry next to Guangzhou when the War of the League of Asian Provinces erupts. Or we spawn one next to Jimian. Well, Jimian is... Oh, it's you. So we either take this province or we take this province. I think we want to go with this, the fields of Jiangxi. Again, I will be butchering a lot of pronunciations. I do apologize for that, but... I don't know... I don't know. Basically, is what I'm getting at. And the Wuhu Massacre. 200 dead, 800 wounded. The news comes quickly into Nanjing and Jiamian. They sent it across Fujian and Jiangxi before the League authorities could even try to censor it. As striking workers of massive German factories in Anhui province, their demonstrations were joined by a growing number of protesters that flooded the streets. The police, reinforced by German-trained soldiers, fired upon the crowd. The numbers seem to multiply every time the story is retold from person to person, and tales of German advisors deliberately ordering the shootings to spread as well. The end result has been the same. The protests growing in size and number as the crisis is showing little signs of abating. What began as a protest against the German economic overreach has exploded into a broader calls for social change, ranging from the abolition of the monarchy to the elimination of concessionism, to the overthrow of warlords, to the unification of the country, and to the end of capitalism. Many of the protesters shout to no one in particular, venting their frustrations even though they hold little hope much will be done in a stagnant, divided China. But for the Kuomintang, the moment is nigh. The powder keg is about to be set off, and not simply one of anti-concessionism. A propaganda offensive has already been underway, casting them as heroes in China's hour of need. But there's still many promises in the air, and the Kuomintang are hardly the only ones making them. We either go for a moderate approach, or hard opinion show our sincere dedication. Look, 20 political power or 5% stability, that is literally not even a contest. You absolutely take 5% stability over, what, 20 days of political power gain? Okay, maybe it's more like 60 because our political power is so bad. Well, what do we have for our national spears? We got the Warlord era inadequacies, which everybody actually begins with. Insurgency of the NRA. We get attack and defense core territory. Planning speed is pretty bad. We get a lot of divisions, which could be nice. Army experience minus 0.3, political power minus 0.1, and our legitimacy is abysmal. We got very little stability, little war support, horrible research speed, terrible compliance gain, and bad political power gain as well. Basically, everything for our party is not going like super well, because we don't actually have any real legitimacy to claim ourselves to be the actual government of China. Thank you for, I'll take the 15 political power for the capitalist economies collapsing. And Black Monday and the Red Tide. A whole other world away, the fall of Germany's economic collapse, already nicknamed Black Monday, has reached quickly into China due to the excessive German economic presence. Stockbrokers and traders watching in horror as the Shanghai Stock Exchange began closing at record numbers, unseen since Shanghai was shaken by the financial turmoil of 1925, and local institutions are doing what they can to mitigate the damage. To many Kuomintang leaders in Paris, especially figures such as Cheng Gongbo and Xi Chongtong, the financial crisis of Black Monday is exactly what Marx predicted. The beginning of a possibility of a new order, one free from the insatiable greed of capitalism. KMT and LCS cells buzz with activity, mobilizing sympathetic unions of other worker organizations in major cities. The League of Eight Province Authority is rapidly eroding, and exemplified by Anqing's break from Nanqing. A recent naval mutiny in Fujian has likewise spurred interest in Paris, and Wang Jingwei has ordered a buildup of resources in India. Hidden away in the hills of the forests of Mingguan insurgent zone, Sun Qingling and her government has amassed considerable independence from the Central Committee in Paris. Communication between the two Kuomintang governments is limited, and most of the day-to-day operations of the insurgency are led by Song's lieutenants. Among her most trusted military commanders are Generals Li Jinshui and Deng Yanda, who believe that the nightmare of Zili authority over eastern China is finally at an end. Arguing that the time is right, Deng has advocated for a quick offensive, positioning the well-prepared and trusted militia columns for a surgical strike to be carried out on the minimal delay. Li Zhishe and others, however, have advocated for taking some time to coordinate with groups more loyal to Paris, as well as rally previous delusion and sleeper cells. Time is of the essence, though the most opportune window is unclear. Mingguai's leadership weighs their options. We can either consolidate our forces, or the time is finally coming. So either 5% war support or 50 command power. Let's go. I think we want to consolidate our forces. I think that makes the most amount of sense given what's actually happened around here. And in just a moment, thank you, Italy here. Can I train units at all? I guess I cannot. Okay. The Smiling Tiger drowned. There is nothing perhaps more dutiful and patriotic than Xing Zhongchao's act of filial piety in avenging the death of her father, Si Changbin. Disguised as a discerning woman, the young Si Jiangqu shot the despicable warlord from behind 3 bullets with a Browning pistol. While her fate after being arrested by Sung's bodyguard is unknown, the league's former leader now lies in a coma, and it's clear that the fragile unity of the League of Eight Provinces is finally coming undone. An urgent message has flown from the Meiji insurgency to Shanghai and then into Paris. A final uprising is underway. With communication delayed, there's little time to wait for a response, and discussions are underway on whether or not to commit every man to the front lines in the forthcoming battle, or to keep some in reserve. While the guerrillas have proven effective in disrupting Li control of Mingyan, they have not always been particularly effective in the field, especially in pitched conventional battles. Planners have argued that leaving some to the flying columns will allow for logical flexibility and reinforcement as the campaign unfolds. Others warn, however, that the campaign is to do or die, and it'll be likely the last chance for socialism to organically take root. Holding back some units will encourage all the desperate cells to hold back for an emergency fallback position, one that will hardly exist should this operation fail. The faith is well determined, and Dr. Sun's vision can finally be realized. We get 1 irregular neater. Or we get 500 rifles. I mean, 500 guns is pretty good. We need all hands in the fight. So basically, do we want a free division, or I just want 500 guns? I want 500 guns reinforcements, just so they can reinforce our armies. Having a bunch of armies that cannot reinforce is not good for anybody. But I do think that at least for right now, with the revolution underway, or about to be underway, this is going to be a great time for us to end off for today. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not enjoying, thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.